Kim, Ace, it's been a year since George Floyd, and it's been almost a year since we started this show. What's up?
True.
How are y'all?
We good. How
Great.
you doing today, brother?
How are you?
You know what? I can't complain. Rebrand us. My name is Anthony Goodson. I'm your host for tonight, alongside Adrian, the Ace Stinson. What's
What's
up,
up, world?
Ace?
How everybody doing?
Kimberly, and guess who's back? Don't call it a comeback.
Allowed to reintroduce
I've been here for
herself.
years.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Kimberly Dow back, and in his tardiness, we'll have Eric in just a moment. But tonight, we're talking about George Floyd. George Floyd, 1 year removed. What has changed? Any changes?
Yeah, we got a lot of changes we can get into, discuss, gerrymander, chew the fat
Okay.
about.
Well, let's just do that then. I tell you what, we'll see y'all in about 30 seconds.
If you can make federal laws to protect the bird, which is the bald eagle, you can make federal laws to protect people of color. Concerned, and I think genuinely he wanted to know exactly how we were doing and what he could do to support us. And he did let us know that he supports passing the bill, but he wants to make sure that it's the right bill and not a rush bill.
All right, that's the family of George Floyd talking about what's going on in the White House when they went to meet with the president. Do y'all think it's genuine? Do you think the president genuinely wants to make a change?
I do. The reason being is that he's putting himself out there, by doing it. So it's not, it's not a convenience thing for him at all. So I think it's genuine. It's kind of, we have to be leery just because of the past, and we think somebody always have something up their sleeve, but I think it could be genuine.
I believe so too. You know what? You speak a very loud noise when you get on the side of black sometimes, and he brought a vice president. Not only a vice president that's black, he also brought a woman, and that to me spoke volume. So I genuinely think that he's ready to see some change. I think if nothing else, he's tired.
He
Kim, what
came
do you
and shake
think?
some stuff up for sure.
Yes, I just tend to be optimistic on his genuine feelings and him going forth with being on our side and making things better for us as Black people. So, like you said, him bringing in Kamala, I mean, just really, 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 that was a big statement. So that was a double whammy with her being a woman and with her being Black. I just think that was a step in the right direction to prove to us that we do have a chance.
I fully agree. Hey, you're watching Rebrand Us. I'm your host, Anthony Goodson. Tonight we are talking about George Floyd. It's been 1 year, and we're trying
Please
to
share
find out
this page.
you know what? Let me go ahead and throw that up there for you. Ace got to say it at least 5 times this hour.
Well, all I know is he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot. He's trying to do a lot for everybody, so I can definitely give him props. But we know what happened last time. He better not take no tours through Dallas right now. I'll tell you that.
Whoa. Yeah, no kidding about that. It's a breath of fresh air, and quite honestly, it's just a big change from what we had before. Truth be told, we're not talking about the president tonight. We're actually talking more about George Floyd. But the reality is today looks different than 12 months ago. And we're still dealing with the pandemic, but we're not dealing with the death of George Floyd. So I'm thinking to myself, some things have probably changed, and that's some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. What changes have we made? How far have we come? Who impacted? And we're going to throw this question out there. Okay, we're going to throw this question out there again. For those of you listening, please comment. Who impacted the world? Whose death impacted the world the most? George Floyd or Martin Luther King Jr.? We've asked that question once before, and that's a big debate question. Whose death? That's the capital word. That's the operative word. That's the word we're talking about. Death.
Not life and actions and life work and all that.
Whose death impacted the world the absolute most? But anyway, George Floyd, 1 year. We want you guys to certainly comment. Tell us what you think has happened good since his death just over a year ago, as yesterday. And that's what we're going to focus on a little bit tonight. We're going to talk about the Asian change too. All this stuff going on, is it changing the narrative? Is that the deal, Ace?
Yeah, I think this. I'll get into that a little deeper when we get to that part. I have some things I have to say on that, but that has definitely brought upon some change as well.
All right, well, let's just jump right on into it. Okay, so as we know, we're not going to play the video. I don't think we've ever played the video. 1 year ago yesterday, George Floyd was murdered by a police officer in Minnesota. Okay, we all saw this on YouTube or wherever we saw it, and for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the police officer had his knee on the neck of a black man, killed him. Okay, murdered. The world was racist. We felt the racism. We felt cop killings. We felt all kind of things. These things were going on, but then this moment happened where we saw a man be killed. Okay, now we'll talk about some of those changes in a minute. But we had a show about almost 12 months ago, and almost 12 months ago we talked about how we felt, how that video made us feel, and so I'm going to just revisit that for just about a minute or two. Let y'all tell me how y'all felt about that before we start fully going into the changes being made. Kim, I'll start with you.
I felt like with the behavior that was going on around him, while that was going on for the 8 minutes and 46 seconds, I felt like that really made me feel like we did not matter at that point, and that young man's life did not matter, because the police officer, he just did it like he was just standing on a rock, not someone's neck, and impeding his airway and literally taking the life out of him. And then the people around him, like even his co-workers, even his even the other officers that were there at the scene, they act like they couldn't intervene. So people were yelling, and he's yelling for his mom. So it was just it was a sad thing to watch someone lose their life via social media, via video, and watch everyone else around him truly not help him. It's just a sad situation, and I'm just saddened by just revisiting even the thought or even the visual in my head. It's ridiculous.
So we had a real in-depth conversation about this last night, y'all. Let's get a little bit more into what we were talking about. One of the questions I asked is, why this one? Why was this the one that made such a loud noise? I mean, we saw Rodney King get beat. Of course, he didn't die. We saw several people get killed in New York City over cigarettes, and a man in San Francisco got shot in the back. We saw these things on video. But why this one? Ace?
It was just the blatancy of it. You got to look at the situation. They didn't try to hide it. They didn't try to, even like the recent one that happened where the police lady was lying, talking about taser, 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 and she's going for a gun, and all that. This police didn't do nothing. He looked at everybody like, so, it's just like if your child did something wrong at a point in time, and you be like, hey, you try to explain, hey, you can't do that, so and your child looks at you and be like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. You be like, hey, listen, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Talk to them, but they look at you like, okay. You probably knocked the taste out their mouth, and that was the thing that was going on. He said his action said it all. Like, this is a day at the park. I'm whistling Dixie. Yeah, it's just I don't care about how you feel about it.
Kim?
Mhm. I feel like it was a little different this time because of the pandemic. We were in a pandemic, and everybody was really tuned in. The pandemic kind of set us down a little bit. We were a little bit more at home, and kind of trying to stay away from people, trying to be 6 feet away from each other. A lot of people weren't able to go to work last year physically, so they were working at home. So kind of social media and the media just kind of it took a rise in the viewers, and so we were tuned in and just could not believe it. I mean, it's just ridiculous how someone can just completely go to the store and totally lose their life, just for going to the store. So, and it's a shame that I think that a dog would actually get more protest and more action than someone's life, be it they're white or black.
So nothing has changed, says Tony Goodson. But because it was on TV nationwide, says Tony Goodson as well. So I'm thinking, that this was nationwide, as we see. We've seen so many things. We've seen them turn the water hoses on black people on the television. I don't know if that brought about change during that time, but we
Man.
saw this nationwide. But what's funny to me, we talked about this last night as well. We're seeing young people, and most importantly, young white people, kind of get on the bandwagon of what it is the cause is, and now their voices obviously are starting to be heard. Why? Why is that?
They recognize wrong is wrong. You know, some people just I don't think they were raised in the hate as the previous generation. You know, I think they were kind of informed of some stuff and hey, this is what we think, how you feel. But I don't think they were raised in hate and you know, they're voicing their opinions and you gotta listen to them. You know, because they're loud with it, you know, and they're standing out front because they know, well, you know, you'll attack them, but you're not gonna attack me. They're standing out front. So I always give props to you know our white brothers and sisters who just stand for what's right. You know, I'm not even saying you know help the black one. They stand for what's right. You know, just period, just flat out. And I think that's one of the reasons being heard because you can't ignore the white face that's speaking
Oh,
about something.
Kim?
Well, I think that I think there are plenty of people that will stand up for what's right, like A said. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that try to act oblivious. Even if you're first generation to the hate, second or third generation to the hate, you know that it's wrong. Period. And so I think, you know, when I say first generation, like you said, they were raised in the hate.
But
Um,
okay, let me interrupt because again, some of this is the conversation we had last night. People are saying that the reason why they believe the change came about or this was so loud was because we saw it on television. Okay, everybody's saying the reason why they think this is so loud is because we saw it on television. But we also saw dogs being sicked on young black men and women in the '60s. We saw black men and women being hung from trees in the '60s and '70s, right? And I mean, you know, I think it's just lazy to say, "Oh, well, it was a different time." But then again, if that's the truth, that's the truth. Why now? Why is it in 2020 George Floyd is killed by a police officer, which we've been crying about for 70 years, and now they decide, okay, now this is the one we want to cry for? Is it because maybe we had a black president and now we've gotten some kind of power? Is it because you know white people have jumped on board? I mean, that's the part I'm not really understanding. And the reason why I think it's so important to figure that out, because that may be the reason how we start to progress. That may be
right,
the beginning of progression right there.
right.
We have, I think, our previous president. Um, how can I say it? I think there was some good that came out of that presidency. It caused everybody to take a look at themselves. And I think what happened is a lot of people that took a look at themselves were disgusted about what they saw in the mirror. You know, especially when he kind of reflected what they thought they stood for and stuff like that. They were like, "Wow, do I talk like that? Do I look like that? Do I act like that?" And so I think what happened is we actually have people in higher places that kind of was like, "Hey, man, this ain't right. You know, this is crazy. You know, this is you know." And so I think that's one of the things that helped, not as well as you know who we're talking about, you know, previously, you know, the people standing up for what's right. But I think some people in higher places were just looking like, nah, this is crazy. You know how that is. So
I also think that, you know, he really gave some people who were already racist the ticket just to really be bold in their racism, you know. So and a lot of people just didn't like that. I mean, you know, it went against what they actually believed and actually what they um what they were not raised to believe. You know, I feel like people in our generation, you know, in other races, they're not as they're not as bold with it. I mean, as far as back in the day, you know. So did I make sense? I'm
That
sorry.
make a little bit of sense, I guess.
Oh,
a
But
little bit, yeah, but,
she back after a
yeah,
while.
they put it out front too much. You know, they don't like the racism served up front. You know, they like it behind
right.
closed doors, like it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Hey, when we come back, rebrand what we're gonna pose the question that we asked earlier. Question is, whose death impacted has the biggest impact? Whose death had the biggest impact? George Floyd or Martin Luther King? We're gonna talk about that when we come back.
Rebrand us. It's motivating, inspiring. It's a conversation that needs to be had. It's Adrian, the Ace Stinson.
If you're not gonna help, don't hurt.
Eric Russell.
We need financial literacy. We also need to get over this level of fear that we have.
Anthony Gibson.
That my ancestors, whether they were slaves, innovators, or the first blacks to do something, their lives had a purpose.
It's unique to any other podcast. It's Rebrand You, Rebrand Me. It's Rebrand Us.
It's smart.
If you just think about it, everybody that has had a harm or a foul done to them has been paid some form of reparations, except for us.
It's informative.
Systemic racism is a form of racism that is embedded as normal practice within society or an organization.
It's funny.
We were doing a march for equal rights for people in the adult industry with missing limbs.
Because
It's powerful.
that's the thing I feel our community is missing the most. We just don't take action. We're so skeptical of so many things that we wind up being the ones holding ourselves back.
It's Rebrand us.
All right, so we're back. Question being posed right before we break: whose death impacted the world the most? Was it
Hey,
Martin Luther King Jr. or was it George Floyd?
before we move forward, can we just take time to bask on those great commercials that were just
Hey,
played?
they were off the chain.
Man, that was some fine watching.
The editing is just perfect.
We got amazing producers on this side, probably the best in the
Hey,
world.
that's why they make the big bucks. That's why they make the big bucks.
No way.
Absolutely. So going back to what we were talking about, whose death impacted the world the most? Was it George Floyd or was it Martin Luther King Jr. and why? I'll go last. Kim, you go first.
You put me on the spot. Okay. I really would say George Floyd. I would say George Floyd because, like you said, it was televised. It was actually videoed. We actually watched a man die, and so it was a major turning point because we've been going all these years, with just kind of, letting things fall by the wayside. But I think it was like the straw that broke the camel's back that everybody just has a voice now. Kind of gave everybody more of a voice. Martin Luther King, he did impact us tremendously, but I think that it was his action, more of his life and his living, and what he put toward civil rights. Equal rights, that actually impacted us the most. So I was George Floyd.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna go next. Actually, I'm gonna let Ace go. I'm gonna let Ace clean up. So I'm gonna say George Floyd. Just pretty much same reason as you. Martin Luther King, I can tell you all the speeches. I can tell you all the quotes. I can tell you all the things that happened in his life that happened. Bus boycotts, all of these things matter. His life, without his life, his death would have been nothing. He would have just been another black man who died in the 60s, right? But George Floyd, for whatever reason, his death impacted the world in a way that you just couldn't script. You couldn't work hard to get the death and the results after his death. He had the kind of death that it just spoke for. He was blessed to have a life. I don't know what his life was like, but he was blessed to have a death that actually was not in vain. He was murdered, but it was not in vain. How many people can say that? Even Martin Luther King can't say that. So to me, I believe the most impactful death that we've had, between those two at least, by far, was George Floyd. Ace?
For all you social media trolls and internet trolls, listen to what he said before y'all start saying that the man said that George Floyd was greater than Martin Luther King and all this kind of stuff. He was talking about the impact of the death. I think answer to the question for me is George Floyd. His death had a bigger impact than Martin Luther King's death, and it all really comes down to just timing. When you think about it, the world was ready to handle something like that. You know, people stood up for what's right. People said, no, that's wrong. You know, we live in a day and time where you know, interracial couples is a normal thing. Biracial children, you know, are a normal thing. They don't have to hide and try to pass for one color and things like that. At the time that Martin Luther King was murdered, I think his murder satisfied a thirst in America. You know, like his daughter said before, people acting like how much they love their dad and stuff now, but he was like the most hated man in America. You know, white people couldn't stand him because he was, you know, he was talking that talk about equal rights and stuff like that. And some black people thought he was stirring up trouble and, you know, you're gonna get us all killed, you know, and stuff like that. So I think that Martin Luther King's life had the biggest impact, one of the biggest impacts, period, on the world. But his death didn't impact the world as big as George Floyd's death, because his death was something that America was waiting on. You know, it was something that, like, you know, I think, you know, when George Floyd, when we saw his murder, everybody was kind of like, oh man, did you see? Hey, what the, you know, it was kind of like, what the hell? With Martin Luther King death, there was the majority of America was like, yes, they got it. You know?
So you feel like his death was anticipated? It was just only a matter of time.
It was wanted.
All the things that he did.
It was wanted the same way, like our previous president. The same way I was just wishing somebody would just slap the taste out of his mouth open-handedly. They were waiting on that. Yeah, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, then you got to also look. George Floyd died 2020, right? So let's look back in the last 10 years of deaths in this matter. Of course, we saw a lot of police officers kill black men, of course. But, you know, a lot of them we didn't necessarily see on TV. But in the 60s, the 1960s, we saw Medgar Evers get killed. We saw Malcolm X get killed. We saw Martin Luther King get killed. I mean, the list goes on. I'm sure we can come up with more people. And Bobby Kennedy was killed. JFK was killed. You know, so
they killed Cornbread, and he didn't do nothing.
I know it. Cornbread Earl.
Yeah. So
and Cochise got killed. Did Cochise get killed in the 60s or the 70s?
Well, hey, that was another brother did that, Cochise. But we
still
gonna count him. We gonna still post something out for you, Cochise.
All right, so that's what we talked about, whose death impacted the world the most. I think we all agree that it's the same person. If anybody disagree or agree, put it in your comments. We certainly would like to hear it, and we certainly would like to share it.
Yeah, but let's conversate. Do it.
The conversate. Here, let me give you all a little education. There is no such word as conversate.
Converse.
Who knew?
It's converse.
Oh.
Who knew?
That's all right. I was gonna let it make it. I was
gonna let it make it too, but
allow me to retort. So should the converse be the classic white or the electric orange?
Kim?
Well, I mean, you know, me personally, I like the black leather, all leather.
That's for all my New Orleans folks out there watching, representing out with the Converse.
We're talking about George Floyd's death, 1 year removed. We talked about, just a quick recap, who we thought death impacted the world the most. We all agreed that George Floyd over Martin Luther King. But my next question is, how far have we come in the last year? But the fact that George Floyd's death made so much noise, I think the question is, how far have we come over the last several years? 12 months is kind of hard to judge. You really can't see a big change in 12 months. But with the noise that we're getting from this, I think over the last, 50 years, we've come probably quite a long way. And here's another question I'm gonna throw out there before I let you guys answer that. How much do we want to see racism as Black people? And how much do we want to get out of racism? Because it appears to me that if we get out of racism, we got nothing to complain about. So we don't want to see any change, because if we see change, then now we're left with, okay, I gotta create results with no excuses. Exactly. So
that's deep.
Who was Cornbread? Says I don't know. I gotta find out who said that. we got a young viewer apparently.
They better
not. Who was Cornbread? It's probably the oldest viewer we have actually. Tony Goodson.
The Cornbread Earl and me is black exploitation. He was running down. Had just bought an orange pop at the store, and they were trying to see how fast he could run home.
With a basketball in his hand.
Police thought he was a robbery suspect. They thought the orange pop was a gun. The garbage truck made noise, so they didn't hear. This is long. We'll have to. Who
was Cornbread? Who played Cornbread?
You know what? I don't know that guy's name. I know they didn't comb his hair for the movie.
Wait a minute. Was Sam? What's his name?
Lawrence Fishburne was in the movie. That was his first movie. He was a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so again, how far have we actually come over the last 50 years? Like 50 years ago, nobody would have said anything. We saw people get killed on TV before, but now it's actually saying something. How far have we come? We've had a black president. Let's talk about that for a minute. We've come quite a ways. Now we have a black female vice president. It appears that the president we have now has an agenda in mind, and that's to be more black proactive. So have we come far? I mean, of course, the last president that we had seemed like a setback, but I mean, it was like a slingshot. You got to pull it back before you go forward, right? But when it goes forward, it propels a long ways. It seems like, quite honestly, we either propelled a long way or we're about to. So how far have we actually come?
I don't think we've came as far as some people think. Just to be honest with you, when you can name specific things that should make us feel like we came far, you haven't came far. It's like, what do you mean you haven't came far? You had a black president. It's kind of like, hey, you had a black president. Shut up. I just don't. I think racism is at an all-time high. I think the previous presidency kind of stirred up the ants. The ants were already there, but I think that presidency kind of stuck the stick in the ant bed and stirred it up, and now the ants are in a frenzy. Now racism is our fault, of course. They tried to say, it was Obama's fault that, America's never been as racist as it was when Obama got in office. And, I'm like, that's because all the races never had reason to be more mad than when he was in office, But we haven't came as far as most people think at all. I mean, it's like we up the street, but we ain't left the neighborhood.
Kim?
Y'all write that quote down. That's a good quote. Adrian the 8th Stetson. Okay. We up the street, but we ain't out the neighborhood. Write that down.
Type it down.
Say that for no reason. Hey, how you doing today? Hey, we up the street, but we ain't out the neighborhood.
Well, I just think there's more awareness. I really don't think that we've the major step I think that we've made is just having Kamala in office. I think that's the only thing, but that didn't stem from his death. But that has happened in the last year. So, but the awareness has just gone up for me. I don't see any kind of any improvement at all. I see people whose passion is heightened. Me myself even. I try to hold back sometimes, like the way that I feel, because sometimes I can have a little attitude, just walking in public places and just wishing somebody good,
Dang.
So only because, people are just bold right now, and they just have a tendency to just do things that they've never done before.
Candidates.
Mm-hmm.
I will.
It's my daddy. He probably wants you to say it one more time. Go ahead and say it one more time, Eddie.
We're up the street, but we ain't out the neighborhood. You see how I put that same passion with it? You can't just quote it. You got to put that passion with it.
Yeah.
Felt like I was performing in Othello or something.
Well, hey, save some of it for Ace's place, because when we come back, we got Ace's place. But before we go, I'm gonna tell you my take. I think that I think there's been a lot of changes. I think I think changes have to come within us more so than them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say them, I'm talking about the system. I'm not putting it on white people. I'm talking about the system in itself. I think once I learn that I'm more than, or once I become, once I start to grow, then they can't stop me from growing. I'm bigger than what they can stop me. Now I'm not as big as what, I'm bigger than the individual that they can, that they think that I am. The community may not be, right? But the community is, if we can individually grow, if we can individually grow, we all come together and individually come together and then we grow. I don't know if I'm making sense or not, but I think that we can become bigger than what they have their expectations. Well, I really confused myself on that one too. I'm gonna think about it when we come back. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I was up the street, but I never left the neighborhood on it.
Hey, get my quotes right now.
Hey, we are talking George Floyd 1 year removed. We definitely want to hear all of y'all's comments about this. This is a great conversation. We want to know what changes you guys think have made, and we got a few that we're going to say here in a little bit, and how far have Black people come in America over the last, we're saying 50 years. Or 1 year, depending on how you guys want to see it.
Where my coons at? I need y'all to chime in.
Coons just don't speak.
Oh, and for the record, Cornbread was played by Jamal Wilkes.
Okay.
It wasn't really necessary to say his name. We'll be back in just a second.
It's smart.
If you just think about it, everybody that has had a harm or a foul done to them has been paid some form of reparations, except for us.
It's informative.
Systemic racism is a form of racism that is embedded as normal practice within society or an organization.
It's funny.
We were doing a march for equal rights for people in the adult industry with missing limbs.
Because that's the thing I feel our community is missing the most. We just don't take action. We're so skeptical of so many things that we wind up being the ones holding ourselves back.
It's rebrand.
Unwanted house guests can be a thing of the past. Just contact us at godboat44@yahoo.com or call 903-335-2563. Godboat Pest Services, serving Northeast Texas. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host for tonight. For this evening, my name is Anthony Goodson, alongside my co-host Adrian, the Ace Stimson.
What's going on, everybody? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. Kimberly Dow. Don't call it a comeback. I thought y'all had more to say about that. And in his tardiness, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eric Russell.
Jumping on in like double Dutch.
And not only did he come in late, he don't have on his shirt. Boy, we gotta find him and then double find
like Ike Turner.
Oh, that was intentional. It's kind of a protest. It's all good.
Oh, he's standing out. Look at us, hey man, power to the people.
Well, hey, Eric, you came in just in time for Ace's place.
Just in time for Ace's place.
Let's get it then.
Y'all, I ain't got an intro or a drum roll. Let me.
All I got.
Today on Ace's Place, I just wanted to kind of talk about something that things kind of anger you, so you want to speak out about them. I know I joke a lot about coons and things like that. And those of you tuned in watching, especially my people from other countries, if you don't understand what we mean by when we say coons, you have to go look it up or call me after the show or something. The King Coon Award, Coon of the Century. Like, I don't know, like when they hand out the Coon Award, it should be a trophy of him. So Republican Representative Vernon Jones. This past week, he I don't even know which platform. I don't want to say he tweeted. He said he typed it. He said, and I quote, "I wish people recognized the death of Jesus Christ as much as they do George Floyd. That's all I have to say." And he actually made that quote. And one thing that I notice all the time is any form of racism, white supremacy, hate, they always bring the Lord into it. They always bring Jesus. You know, they're doing everything's in the name of the Lord for God and everything that's pure and things like that. But by the way, he's a black man as well. That has to be the most idiotic thing that I've ever heard. And as a matter of fact, if you were so focused on the death of Jesus Christ, you wouldn't even say anything as stupid as that. You would kind of see what was wrong with the death of George Floyd. Also, if you were more focused on the death of Jesus Christ, you probably wouldn't have been buddy with one of the guys that was shown on those pictures there that you were next to. I've said it before. I said it again. if you're not gonna help, don't hurt. Mr. Vernon Jones, at some point in time, you could just shut up, just period point blank. I mean, if you're gonna say, stupidity, it's like, I'm pretty sure you're from humble beginnings, just like all of us. We all come from, well, not all of us, but majority of, we come from the hood, rough upbringing. I'm looking at your face. You look like you may have had a couple of fights. I can see you may have took a few jaw licks here and there. And my thing is, I know you have family. I don't know if your parents have transitioned, but you have somebody who's looking at you. You have kids, aunts, uncles, cousins, stuff like that. And I just wonder, how embarrassed are they of you? Right, because they can't all have your ideology, because I'm pretty sure some people still live on that block, some people still live in that neighborhood. How embarrassed are they for you to stand up as a black man and to make that comment? And one of the questions that I want to pose to you, Mr. Vernon Jones, and if you ever watch this, you're always welcome to be a guest on this show with your coon ass. One of the things that I would like to ask you is, could we know what church home you belong to? And then whatever church name you give us, can you verify how often you visit that vicinity? Because you're so quick to bring up the name of Jesus Christ. And we should focus on that more than George Floyd. When's the last time you've been to church? When's the last time that you worship? And if you have, what message is being preached in your church? Because that stupid statement that you made, it kind of tells me everything about you that I need to know. And I feel sorry for the people that you represent, and I really feel sorry for your family. I'm pretty sure you have kids, and somewhere somebody has to say that's my dad, and that's sad right there. And on top of all that, you're probably suffering from, you like a pretty tall guy, but you're probably suffering from little man syndrome, and you're just angry. And that's all I had to say for Ace's Place. It's just people like this hurt stuff so bad, because what'll happen is you'll have idiots that they'll hear Mr. Vernon Jones say stuff like this, and then they'll hop on that platform. Well, I mean, look, even Vernon Jones said it, like he matters to us. It's like, look, you're not invited to the cookout. We don't want your ass around us. Stay where you are. But Mr. Jones, all I have to say is, when you get your time, when they don't realize that you're a representative and you're treated like one of your brothers and sisters, I hope that they give you a thorough ass whooping that they give everybody else. I mean, I really hope that they help you to understand who you are and what state we're in, so that you can come back to earth and get out of this, just speak. I don't know, maybe you were doing it for attention. I hope you got the likes and the followers that you were looking for that. But basically, you sold your soul for it, and that's all I had to say. That really ain't, like, I use the joke around and stuff, but like, I really can't talk how I want to talk. Like Vernon Jones, like I mean, I don't know how much time they'll give me, but like, I would slap you dead in your face. I'm sorry. We need our show. We need our show, everybody. I was just playing about slapping you, Vernon. I kick you in your nuts.
Well, hey, look, we talking about George Floyd the last year. What changes have been made? Who's more important? Whose death is more important? George Floyd's or Martin Luther King? We spoke about those things, but one of the things we said we were going to talk about, and now it's that time, is really what changes have actually been made. And I got a list of changes I want to read to you guys. Some of them don't make sense. Some of them do. But I'll read them all off, and you can tell me which ones you think are relevant enough. They say global tributes and protests. That's one change, a global tribute and a protest. I don't know what statues being taken down. Now, let's talk about that real quick, just for about a minute. Statues being taken down, does that matter to y'all?
No, and that was before. That was happening before George.
Okay. Companies standing in solidarity with Black Lives Matter.
Hey, now I have to give some of them their props. They did that.
That's a good thing.
All right, so the 4 police officers have all been charged. I think 1 convicted so far, and I think they're holding back on the other 3. Let's talk about that for a quick second. Should all 5 or 4 police officers be charged?
with something for sure. Not necessarily the murder, but accessory or something to that nature.
I don't think all of them should be charged, but I do think there should be some type of sanction hand down. I don't think any of them should wear a badge anymore. I think the one that was on the neck definitely should be where he is for a very long time. I think the others who didn't intervene and they were just doing crowd control. Don't worry about it and all that. Yeah, I think they should be in the unemployment line right now, trying to figure out what they going what's their next move.
See,
What's the
Okay,
wholesale?
so part of the problem with that one is like I've read about this yesterday. They are having trouble when people get fired from one police department. They're going to other police departments, smaller departments where they can go in and just apply there. So they have a hard time trying to track who got fired for what reason, this and that, in different states and different cities. So
That's
that's
their
something.
excuse.
That's it. It's something they're working on. I mean, there's organizations out there that's really working on it right now. And there's a list of organizations I want to put on our Facebook page or our website or something that we can start educating ourselves about stuff that we don't know about yet. But there's a lot of stuff going on in this world that we really don't know about that's actually moving in the right direction. The needle's not moving yet, but it's people doing a lot of work underground with a lot of this stuff. So,
Okay, another change. Police departments are making changes. And I think that's one we opened the show up with. The George Floyd family went to the White House, and I think they got a police reform that they're trying to have signed. Number 6, donating to charities and bailing out protesters. People have been doing that. That means nothing. It's just a cause in which they're doing it. It says here, number 7, you're a racist. Let me read this real quick. It says more people are speaking out about the everyday racism and discrimination they have faced. Radio 1's Clara Amfo was praised for speaking openly about the impact George Floyd's death had on her and her mental health. She said what happened had enforced a feeling amongst Black people that people want our culture, but they don't want us. In other words, you want my talent, but you don't want me, says Clara. Leona Lewis posted on her Instagram talking about a past experience where the singer, I didn't know she was a singer, I don't know who she is, says she and her dad were racially targeted in a shop. That happens all the time. I hate it when they make that a big, for me, I hate it when they make that like a headline that I was racially targeted. I think Dominique Wilkins the other day, for the former basketball player for the Atlanta Hawks, he was racially profiled. Couldn't go into it. I mean, like that was more of a story because it actually happened in the city where he played, and it's like Michael Jordan going to Chicago and getting discriminated against, but still. All right, number 8, they have Blackout Tuesday. Spotify says we stand with the Black community. This is Spotify. So for those of you who want to, support those companies who are really truly trying to do something, Spotify apparently put this on their Twitter page, and this is a year ago. It said we stand with the Black community, our employees, our partners, artists, and creators in the fight against racism, injustice, and inequity. I guess that's inequality.
Just
now is not the time for silence. We will continue to use the power of our platform to amplify Black voices so they are heard. Eric?
Yeah, just the opposite of what you're saying too. Black Tuesday is kind of opposite of that, right? So we want to support people who are doing things like that, but also not put money into companies that are doing the opposite of that. You know what I'm saying? They're encouraging those type of things. I saw there was something with Chip and Joanna today that they that ACENS or whatever that they're supporting banning the First and Second Amendment basically in schools, not allowing people to talk about systemic racism and things like that, right? So things like that. I mean, money makes a difference. Money runs the world. Obviously, we talk about that on a regular basis here. Financials, that it matters.
Okay, so got 2 more. Number 9, street names are being changed to Black Lives Matter Plaza near the White House. That's funny. Programs taken off streaming platforms. I guess they got certain kind of insensitive shows or something. They got a few here that I've never heard of. The Mighty Boosh and the League of Gentlemen were also removed from Netflix. I don't know what they were about. But now you got lots of people actually taking action.
I don't really agree with the taking down the statues and and some of the stuff being pulled off TV. I think it's like a episode of Golden Girls you can't find anymore. I'm a Golden Girls fan. My wife converted me. But it's certain. So I do believe that people should be able to look at what they want, watch what you want, and we're all you should have the mind to say, well, I'm just not going to watch that. I'm just not going to support that. Because I mean, they're taking all that off, but uh, Seinfeld still running all day after the meltdown that one of the main characters on there had.
Hey,
So I
hey,
think,
hey, 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 hey. Leave
hey,
Seinfeld alone.
I think we picking and choosing what we take down. As far as the statues, look, those statues should remind you, like you should drive by and see that statue, and it should remind you to pull your pants up on your tail, or it should remind you why you doing, why you need to be doing the right thing, and then so it also should remind us that we need to be in the mindset of our own. And build, and we can put up our own statues at our own places. There's no reason that we can't put up a statue of somebody that means something, you know, to us. We have a beautiful statue of Martin Luther King in front of the Martin Luther King Center there in South Dallas. You got people hoorah, stuff like that, and they probably never even seen the statue, probably never even went and checked it out or whatever. So I know that's a different subject. I just had to say that I think we can focus energy in better places.
Well, Sky
Even that,
says street names change don't mean a thing. What does that really do? I fully agree. Kim?
even on that list that you're reading from, Anthony, there was one statue that was pushed into a body of water, and they actually retrieved it. So I don't. That's not doing anything. That's not really making a statement. So go back up. I don't know exactly which statue it was, but it was one statue, and I don't know what it was. The symbolism of it all was, but it was actually recovered from that body of water, and actually now it's in a museum. So I
So
don't know what the purpose of that is, but the street name sure doesn't do a damn thing. It doesn't
it doesn't.
do anything.
Simply saying we stand in solidarity means nothing. What action has actually been taken to fight
Yes.
systemic racism? You know what? The reality is all this symbolism means nothing. Signs, changing names of streets, taking these things down, but it's a start. It's like you can't start your car without a key. The key doesn't do anything else, but it starts the freaking car. And I think all these things are a start, just a start. I mean, they're not great starts, but they're a start. The reality is, I tell people all the time, if you've been raped by this man over and over and over, but this man was paying everybody's rent in the neighborhood, and they put a statue up, the neighborhood may say, "Oh, this guy is great," but you're not going to say this guy's great, especially if he's raping multiple people in the neighborhood. But yet they got a statue of him, and so that's kind of the issue. Horrible things were happening to the community of Black people,
Where did
but
this analogy come from?
other people think that these people are so great. First of all, I don't even know these statues. These people, I don't even know half these people. So how big of an impact is that? Because I don't even know who he is. Tell me right now who Ulysses S. Grant is. Tell me him besides the president. Tell me what he did. You can't tell me.
He fought in the Civil War.
Yeah, wasn't he like the general?
When y'all both are questioning, y'all not really sure.
Yeah. Oh, he's the one that surrendered. He's the one that. He's.
So you see now. If you see his statue, do you even recognize who that is if they don't put his name down?
Not at
It's a
all.
start.
You didn't even recognize Robert E. Lee until they had the big Robert E. Lee up on them. And think about it, that was actually a beautiful statue. I mean, it is what it is, as far as the meaning, but that was a beautiful work of art.
Okay, so many things happen. Speaking of these memorials, museums and other things like Penn Museum, John Wayne University of at USC, they all had. They removed several
John
different
Wayne
statues.
University, USC. Ain't that an oxymoron? That racist pilgrim.
This is Butterworth. No longer Cream of Wheat. They changed these names. They changed these faces.
Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben. They've changed these things.
They messing up
Are
now.
they good changes? Probably not. Anyway, Eric, I think we long past your time. What's going on?
Yeah, just to conclude that little section, I wanted to add on to what you just said in regards to, according to being a start. I mean, we know that political policy takes years before it actually takes place, even on local government sometimes, and in the state and the federal, it gets even more tricky. You got more people to deal with, and the regulations get a little more trickier. So I think you could look at like a couple ways, in my opinion, right? If you're talking about somebody who may not have your best interests at heart, if you're Black or brown person or somebody who's suffering from social injustice, I think that you can look at this, hey, shut your mouth up. We gave you something, you know what I'm saying? And be done with it. Or you can look at it from other perspective of, hey, I don't know what else to do right now. I want to have a gesture of goodwill, of good faith, right? So I'm gonna do this. There's something we can do right now, but let's work behind the scenes on some other stuff. 'Cause we don't know what's happening right now until 2 years later in policy, right? So we have to give it time, but we have to still do our part too. Once again, I think we definitely have to educate ourselves about what's going on. That stuff that we don't want, that we're ignorant about as Black people, as white people, as Hispanic people. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but you can. That's the thing about it. You can go to your state representative's web page and see what policy they're trying to push. All kind of things you can do to educate ourselves. But real quick, I will say I wanted to post a poll earlier today, and I got sidetracked. I had some stuff come up, but I saw it on Facebook the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. It's kind of reflective. And I'll post it later on. But the question comes about, what is harder for you to say? A, I am sorry. B, I need help. Or C, I love you.
That's something we need to answer right now.
No. I'm gonna put on the web face page as a poll question. I would love for everybody to to give your answer, and if you can't give a why. I can answer my question right now. The one that's the most difficult for me is B. I need help, and I try to be super self sufficient. I don't like asking people for help. It makes me feel like I'm less than sometimes. But I've thought about this thing repeatedly in my head, and the reason why I have trouble with that. So I think the reason why I'm doing this question is, like I said, it helps us individually become reflective about what we need to get better at, what we're good at. And then we can start going out to other people, helping them understand and be reflective what they're good at, and what they need to improve on, right? Because if I'm going out saying that you, and I'm not focusing on me, I'm not help changing the environment. I'm going out telling people what they should do, which ain't gonna go over very well with most people. So I would like to start having like more thought-provoking questions like this individually that you don't have to share, but please think about it. But if you can share it, please put it on a Facebook page, go to our YouTube page, and it'll be on our website eventually.
Please share this page.
It goes back to what our resident host Leonard McDonald says all the time, told me. He said, whatever your obstacles are, that's the way. That's the way to change. That's the way to grow. But whatever your obstacles are, that's the way. Well, thank you very much for that, Eric. Do you have anything more for us?
I got plenty to say about this topic, but I came on too late to say it, so I have to chop it up later with y'all.
Man, take the time to say what you got to say. If it's important, it's something that's going to add to the pot for the people, move this thing forward.
Oh, no doubt. It's going to be a lot of stuff. I'm going to start putting some different things on a page or whatever. So it's individual stuff that when it comes to my mind that I think can be helpful to somebody, I'll start posting it on Facebook a little bit more. But I do want to be cautious and cognizant of people's time tonight. Because like Anthony said, I heard the part of the show earlier that, we had this conversation last night. It was really good conversation. And I think that's the kind of conversation that has to be had to push stuff forward. So.
Absolutely. Well, hey, look, real quick for those listening, you can now catch us on Rebrand Us Podcast on YouTube, as well as Rebrand Us Podcast on Instagram. Rebrand Us right here, and of course, rebrandus.org. So all of our podcasts have been blown on all of those different places.
You've been rebranded.
Hey, yo, Ace, who do we have on the show next week?
I'm discussing the topics that have to deal with the Black family. The food or the drink is good when the person says swallow instead of swallow. We do have a new sponsor. Today's show was brought to everybody by Pastor Jim Jones Flavor Kool-Aid. Let's all take a nap. Married couples that swing at the playground, are they confused or just risk takers? Giggity giggity.
You catch Adrian, the Ace Stinson, and the rest of the Rebrand Us crew live Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Central on YouTube and Instagram at Rebrand Us Podcast, Facebook at Rebrand Us, or rebrandus.org. All right, Ace.
That's a cool commercial, dog.
What do we have next week?
Well, next week we got an interesting group of people. I had to do some coercing to get them here. It's one of the toughest ones that I were able to get, but we're actually gonna I was able to give out 10 guys. So we actually have police informants with trust issues. We're gonna be speaking with them. It's a little hypocritical, but just talking to them about why they feel the way that they feel. It's gonna be a good show.
Eric,
Wow.
Eric is tickled.
I am very tickled.
Kim, are we gonna see you next week?
You are. And I want to
Kim.
bring something special to the table next week.
Hey, now this is a family show.
What's the look if she brings something too special, Ace? It's like,
That's
look,
right.
it's
Everybody sitting there home watching the podcast. Like, she gonna have something special.
All right, Eric, you got any last words?
Making
Man,
them walk the plank.
so much to discuss, man. I'm thankful that we're in a place where we can have this conversation again and reset the stage about George Floyd. Had a video I wanted us to kind of watch together as a podcast tonight, where his uncle was talking about the nonprofit that's starting in for George, and it's not off the ground yet, but they're in the process of it, and what they're doing to really take advantage of the opportunity of his life, you know what I'm saying, and celebrating his life. And so I'm real thankful for the opportunity to sit here and talk about it, and like I said, reset, and hopefully not be where we were last year. And I feel like, me personally, I'm not where I was last year at this time. I'm very thankful for that, but I'm hopeful that we can continue having conversations, and that's one of the things we can do. You know, talk about moving forward and solutions. That's one thing this podcast does, is we'll continue having these conversations about what's not being done right, what is being done right, and what could be done better, right? So to increase the likelihood that racism and social injustices decrease to the point where they're negligent. So we'll continue doing our part. Hopefully we can all do our part individually as well.
Kim? Oh, by the way, Kim, Tony Goodson says, hello, Kim.
Hey, Tony. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for this podcast, and I hate that it had to get started back up because of George Floyd's death, or just racial injustice, period. But I'm thankful to have this platform to agree, to disagree, to voice my opinion, to listen to other people's opinion. Sometimes I know I can go a little bit to the left. I think Eric kind of helps me stay grounded, you know, and stay focused with the things that are at hand. Of course, so does Anthony. Ace is funny. So I'm just thankful to be a part of something like this. In the last year, I don't feel like we've made a whole lot as a people. We've got a whole lot of ground up under us, but I feel like this is a very good start. I feel like if we just discuss the issues and start to tackle those issues within ourselves, it'll be contagious, and we'll make it.
Okay, Ace, before you go, it was one topic that we didn't get a chance to talk about that we said we were going to mention real quick, and that's the Asian situation. So we got about 2 minutes actually before we get off, and real quick, I'm gonna just throw the question out there. What was the purpose of the whole Asian? I don't even know what it was called, but
Asian Cablasion.
Anti-Asian hate crime. I don't know.
Hate crime or
You
whatever.
telling me that converse ain't a real word, but Asian complexion is a...
This is what I got to say about that. All right.
Oh, we canceled. That's it. Nice knowing y'all, everybody.
Tiger Woods created a word, and this a word. But I think, just real quick, I'll just say, I think it was just a camouflage. It's like, let's throw this out there so we can forget about the other thing going. But anyway, Ace, any last words?
Yes, I like leave something deep just put on everybody's mind to think of to the next time you see us. How can we all sit suspended in space, just spinning in space? I mean, just spinning in place, but ain't extended in faith. Wise words by Mr. Brad Jordan.
That's my man, Scarface. That's my main man. You know what? I almost understood because you stumbled a little bit.
Yeah,
I was on the street, but I didn't leave the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
But what happens is usually when you hear those words, you know, you rapping it to the beat, but you know, it's kind of different when you reading
No,
it. So for everybody who didn't get it, let me get it
I
again.
thought you was about to say spaceships don't come equipped with rear view mirrors. They dip. I mean, I don't know.
Is that equipment? What is it?
That's true. That's true. That's another true statement. But it goes, how can we all sit suspended in space, just spinning in place, but ain't extended in faith?
All right now.
Hey, that's some final words.
That's
See
good.
y'all next week.
Rebranders. It's motivating, inspiring. It's a conversation that needs to be had. It's Adrian, the Ace Stinson.
If you're not gonna help, don't hurt.
Eric Russell.
We need financial literacy. We also need to get over this level of fear that we have.
Anthony Gibson.
That my ancestors, whether they were slaves, innovators, or the first blacks to do something, their lives had a purpose.
It's unique to any other podcast. It's Rebrand You, Rebrand Me. It's Rebrand Us.